Still enjoying my Pepsi here, celebrating the 7,000 subscribership that we achieved just a couple of days ago. I have been working with a couple of folks that are having some problems with their Pro 100. More than a couple, actually. They have all switched to other types of inks, whether Precision Colors, octoinkjet.co.uk, or Octopus in Germany, I believe they are. All of these different sources for dye inks for the Pro 100 carts. The CLI 42s, which are great analogs to also the earlier CLI 8, which was used by the Canon Pro 9000 Mark II. Now that they have made the transition over to third party, meaning that they either chose the route of using compatible carts, which is not recommended, or the proper route, which is to modify your original cartridges with a plug for refilling. These were obtained from eBay. This has not been modified whatsoever. It is an empty cart. This sponge, as you can see, there's a lot of white in it. That means there's a lot of air in it. So this cart should be totally flushed and rejuvenated with the rejuvenating solution that I showed you in an earlier video. Allowed to dry, and then you can refill it with your particular ink. People are complaining and blaming the actual inks because when they made the switch, all of a sudden they started to experience what looked like on print some banding, some reduced density in some areas. In other words, if you were printing, for example, a block of a certain color throughout, it would begin to print and then it would kind of start to fade. And that all points to ink starvation, meaning that, sure, when the ink load is actually triggered for a particular color, you start delivering ink, but it cannot keep up with the demand. So as it gets beyond that middle portion of that, say, rectangle, it will begin to lose density because it's not receiving enough ink. That is not due to the ink. Okay, that is not due to the ink. If you buy inks from a good source, forget the refillables, forget the compatible carts. No. If you have modified your carts and you're using Octo Inkjet, Precision Colors, Octopus, and I don't really know how many others are providing inks for the Pro 100. If you see those types of problems, it is your carts that are doing that, not the inks. Okay? Somehow your cart is not providing sufficient amount of ink as the ink load demands. So what could possibly be the case? Air in the sponge. You let that cart go completely dry on this side. When this goes dry, right at the point where this actually becomes dry and you get the signal that is low, meaning there's a little prism underneath here, and now instead of being under ink, it is now exposed to air, and that causes the little beam, light beam that hits it, to diffract differently, and so it sends a signal to the computer saying your ink cart has reached low. When you remove it, you will see nothing here, and you will see a fully saturated sponge on the opposite side, right here. As you can see, there's a layer, 2 layers of sponge. When you reach low, I'll repeat that again, make sure that you hear this. When you reach low, this sponge should still be fully saturated. Do not print beyond that point. Immediately modify the cart and just top this area up with ink. This sponge side compartment should still be fully saturated. Therefore, no air has infiltrated because you continue to print and you now suck the ink out of the sponge, which of course has to be replaced by air entering through the serpentine vent. And that's what causes that condition. If I fill this with ink and this sponge does not saturate itself properly, I will also suffer from ink starvation. And why is that so important? Well, your print heads for Canon printers are thermal. They require ink to keep themselves relatively cool. It's like an engine in your car. You have coolant. It keeps the engine running at a specified temperature that is controlled by your thermostat. If something happens that causes the flow of the coolant to slow, in this case ink, you will overheat your engine. Okay? If something happens that causes the flow of ink to slow down, you will overheat your printhead. And what is so bad about that? Oh, nothing. It'll just die. It'll just burn out. And a printhead will cost you as much as the actual printer sometimes. You want to avoid doing that. And the reason you want to do that is because it's just not worth it. You can't afford to buy a new printhead when you can just buy the new printer probably for the same amount of money. Do it when you still have some ink here. Remove the ball, drill it 5/32 of an inch, drill it straight, and insert your plug. The plug should fit snugly, not loose. If it fits loose, that means you will be leaking air into this chamber. This chamber has to be sealed completely, okay? Otherwise, the card will just empty itself out all over the inside of your printer. You do not want to do that. You want to have this area sealed completely by that plug, meaning that the hole has to be drilled accurately. All right. And of course, to check your ink flow, and I have a video that does that, shows you how to do that. Put it over a paper towel, over a bowl, something you don't mind getting dirty. After you fill it up, remove the plug, and you should have drip, 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 like that, about that rate. When you plug it back up, it should go drip and stop dripping. There should be no dripping when you have your clip off of the cart and this side plugged in. No dripping should occur. You should have a hydrostatic balance, okay, that no ink will actually pour out. How can it pour out? This side is sealed. It does not allow any ink to flow out. It's like a straw full of water. With your finger on the upper end, you can lift it above the glass and no water will drip out until you remove your finger from the opposite end. Then all of the water will just pour right out. The same thing happens here. So you have to have that hydrostatic balance correctly operating. And that is it. That's the two major problems that people will have. And they will blame the inks. No, it's your fault. You did something wrong, or you waited too long, or something physical happened to the cart. And if that's the case, you know what? It is just best to start again with a brand new cart. $15. That's what it'll cost you. But $15 is a lot better than burning out your printhead or having a cart leak out 13 ml of ink all over the inside of your printer. That's not a fun thing to have to clean up, believe me. Then you get cross-contamination. Oh boy, it just gets worse than better. That is it. Thank you so much. I hope this helped a few of the people that were wondering about their problems when they switched over to a certain ink. And again, I will reiterate, it is not the ink's fault. It is the cart, okay? Remember, and I say this quite often, these carts are not meant to be refilled, period. We have figured out how to do it. So in order to successfully be able to do it, you have to follow certain rules and certain techniques. Okay, that is it. Thank you once again. Please don't forget to share, subscribe, and like. And until the next time, happy printing, everybody. Bye-bye.